let her fly. So yeah, it reminds me as we're adjusting the light here on this little first episode. Uh, what is it again? We used to go to. Do you still go?
The
I don't even know if you still
optometrist, Skylar and Grayson do. I haven't been in quite a while.
the optometrist. Yes. And
Yeah.
so and also, this isn't fun. We're not necessarily. Well, I don't know. Maybe we are, and that's our wounding shining through. But I want you to do the imitation, or maybe the flattery of the optometrist. God bless her.
Yeah. She has a great voice. But every time, like last 5, 6 years we ever went, it was always whenever they flip the little screens to like see, like get the numbers for your prescription, it's always one here or two here. And it was like the most soothing thing in the entire world.
Wait. You got to do it again. Just give me a couple. Give so I can get a sound bite.
It was one here or two here and three and one and three. And then it would be like that over and over. And then eventually it was like super soothing when she like did the puff and it was like open wide, stare at the light, one, two, and then poof in the eyes. And it was something about it, man. It was just like
Uh,
super, yeah. She
yeah.
has a great voice. She has a great voice for it.
Oh my gosh, she would be fantastic. I think I've
Yeah.
even I told that back in the day. I told her, I said, you need to do some voiceover work. So, well, there's a little introduction.
Yeah.
So you may be thinking, those in my audience on my YouTube channel, maybe thinking, wait, who's this? Who's this person? This, ladies and gentlemen, is my son. This is Jadon William Bridges Lee. Boy, we could go on
Oh,
that for,
oh
like,
yeah.
oh, he's got two middle names. Who cursed him with that? That would be me,
Well,
yours
yeah.
truly, because I was cursed with two middle names,
Hmm.
same two middle names. But this
Yep.
is my son, Jadon. He is 20, going on 47.
No, just about.
Meaning all kinds of levels of maturity and how much pride I have for this kid, and not kid. I mean, goodness gracious, he's grown into growing and continuing to growing. Although I think you've reached your peak of height, probably. I mean,
Um, I don't know. I ask a lot of people, usually like dudes that are older than me. I'm like, how old were you when you stopped growing? They're like 21, 22.
yeah,
But I probably got the good old years gone through now. So
yeah. And so you're
yeah,
what, 6'3", six
six
four,
three, just
six
about
three,
6'3".
6'3"?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you go into Div 1, you'll be
Yep. Yep. Yep.
power. What would you say? A four, a three, three?
Um,
What would you say? Your height for
and like
6'3"? Who is 6'3"
uh,
in the NBA?
like Curry, Dame.
Curry's
Yeah.
6'3"?
Yeah.
I didn't think he was
They're,
that big.
I mean, yeah, all of them have to be tall.
Well,
So,
yeah.
but let me tell you, in a high school like pickup game, man, that was a good four, stretch four. Yep. Three and D
Stretch
kind of
four.
player, you know what I'm saying?
I have no idea what you just said, and that's okay. So what? So here we are. This is David and Jadon, father son, having conversations, and we'll see where this goes. So we thought we would, and I have to be very very clear and very very honest. This idea to record conversations, and what I'll say is that Jade and I have scheduled FaceTime calls every week. We've been doing that for a long time, year and a half or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And so it came up last week, and Jadon said, well, tell the audience what Jadon said.
Well, so the last couple of weeks we've been getting like really into like personal, like a lot deeper. Cause like before, it was like, hey, how are you? Like, how's it been? How's work? And then we would like dive into sports, most of the time. And then, the last couple of weeks, it was like we just got really personal and we talked about things that we never talked about before. And if we
Mhm.
didn't, hadn't been, for a long period of time, but like the last two FaceTime calls back to back have both been about 2 hours and just like really into us as not a father son, but as man to man, and just you know, how both of our lives were so entangled with one another, but also how different we are and how different we process things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
those conversations are so valuable. I was sharing with Paige, my wife, those of you that again in our audience know that we do life and love and business and all that together. And I was sharing with her, and she was I have to tell you this, I don't think I've told you this. She was almost in tears. She's like, "Oh my gosh." Because she's coming from a perspective too as a kid,
Hmm.
as an adult kid. thinking, wow, what would that be like? And I'm sure a lot of people watching this would be, wow, you know, could I have a conversation of any type of depth with my adult child?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? So we decided, hey, let's try this. Let's give this a shot. Let's, in essence, open the book, pull back the curtain, and invite people into our conversation about. And we have no idea where this is. It reminds me sort of when I was first introduced to Joe Rogan. So those of you that may know who Joe Rogan is, he has conversations that can last 90 minutes, that can last 3 hours, and they just sit and talk and have conversations, which I think is a really popular platform, and I think it's really effective. And so we think, wow, we can bring some uniqueness to the world to build on relationships and trauma and life and love and sports and all the things that we Star Wars. So yeah, those of
We'll
you
get
that are
there.
be like, oh man, well, I promise you, it's not just about laser swords. There's real depth in that. So
Yeah.
we've decided to bring these real and raw conversations to the public and see where this goes. And it may be really profound for you. It may serve as an example of what you would like to see in your relationship with your parent, your relationship with your child, and we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah.
So we've both been through an enormous amount. We've been through a lot together. We've been a lot through separately. Have a lot of stories and stories yet to be told, perhaps as we move forward. So, how's that for an introduction? What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I also want to add to that a little bit, maybe a side of vulnerability from you personally. You know what I mean? Sitting here talking to your child,
Mm,
and
yeah,
I'm sure we'll get into some deep and heavy things, and eventually, and see, a different side of you that maybe, who knows?
yeah. All right. Something just
Yeah,
fly by.
overcast came through.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I could still see your face. Yeah,
yeah.
I've heard. So to give people a perspective, so I am living in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Jaden is back home in the Missouri area, the Kansas City area. And so I understand. I was talking to somebody from Kansas City that said that you've had a ton of rain. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Please send
So
that our
it's
way because it's dry. Seriously, it is so nasty dry here in Nashville right now at the time of this recording. But anyway,
yeah,
yeah. So, all right. How's work been? What's going on?
it's
What's
been
the
it's growth, and I think that's the most important part. This week has been very unfortunately frustrating, but there's a lot of room in that for personal growth and seeing where I am personally, and it's tested my patience. But again, just gotta take a step back, breathe, and then just do what you can in that moment, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and me and Liz, my boss, we've been talking about growth and opportunity expansion. So a lot of good, a lot of good. It's just, man, it's
Yeah.
tough for sure. Yeah,
Share with the folks. Tell,
yeah,
provide a little story because this is
yeah,
going to come through my audience, and they're like,
yeah,
"Oh, wow, cool! I want to get to know Jaden." Like, what kind of give a little bit of background of where you are in life right now and where you've come from, and kind of yeah.
yeah. So as I almost called you your name, as my dad said earlier.
It's okay.
I am 20. My birthday is in December, so I turned 21 this December, and about 10 months ago, um, I started working for Quick Trip, which is I won't call it little, but it's a chain of gas stations and convenience stores all throughout the Midwest, and we're expanding southward. Like we have some in Nashville now, we have some in Atlanta. We're going west. We have some in Denver and Colorado, and then our biggest one is south in like Dallas and Fort Worth. And so basically, what I do is I am the acting manager on the overnights. So from Friday night until Wednesday morning, basically. So I work Friday night and then all the way till Tuesday night, and then I leave Wednesday morning. I don't come back. And I basically just make sure the place doesn't burn down. Of course, not really. I have all those responsibilities, but uh, that's mainly, just keep this standard up throughout the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about so you tried out college. You
Mhm.
went to school for
Yep.
and whatever you're open to share, brother.
Yeah.
So like kind of tell the world because I think it can really help some folks,
Yeah.
young, old, or otherwise, kind of what your journey was through that first year of school.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I did a pair of semesters. Um, and a couple of things happened. So it, I've always struggled with mental health. Ever since I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I could pinpoint it. That'd make probably all of this a lot easier. Uh, but unfortunately, that's a luxury I can't afford. So for first time I remember is my senior year of high school, and I was pretty dead set on going to college all throughout high school, and so I went and I really struggled. The first semester I really struggled with mental health, and I think it was about 2 years ago, like last week, maybe a couple weeks ago. So it's been a little over 2 years, and that I hit a breaking point, and I had to, uh, unfortunately, take myself to a hospital because I was struggling so bad, so much, and so greatly. It was just I, it's the tragic story of I didn't see another way out, and so I did end up admitting myself, and so that was like the first one. That was like the first time when I was like, man, I don't know if I can be here. And then in March, so the second semester came around, and in March, I actually got really sick. And it was some kind of respiratory thing, I don't know, but it completely depleted my immune system. And so I was sick, and then on top of that, I then got tonsillitis. So my tonsils were like the size of 3 counties, and I couldn't really eat anything. And so at that point, me and my mom had a conversation, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be coming back, just because it was so hard mentally, and then it got so difficult physically that I just, I I I I couldn't be there then. I couldn't be there then. And so yeah, and then when I got home in May, I yeah, I deferred from college and I decided to take at least a year. Now that is expanded into multiple, which I'm very okay with. But yeah, so about 10 months ago, what's today? 10 months ago, last week, I started at Quick Trip, and uh, it's been a fantastic opportunity, and I do enjoy it. Of course, there's tough days, but that's every job. Uh, but there's just so much room for growth, and I really do love it, and I love the people I work with.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's I think this is an opportunity for me to reflect on that and to
yeah,
because the parents who are watching this may be thinking, oh, I have a certain set of expectations for my kid. I have a certain, like, my kid is supposed to do this, this, and this, and this, which is my outcome, not his, my outcome, not my children's. And ultimately, I can, and we may get into, and, obviously boundary, but talk about my other two kids, your siblings,
yeah,
and talk about their experiences and whatnot. But for me to relinquish, this is such an important part of my own healing, to relinquish this idea of controlling an outcome of my child. My
mm,
child's decisions have nothing to do with me, which is really hard and really difficult for parents to understand, especially following the narrative that says, oh, whatever your kid does is a reflection of you. And it's simply untrue. And
mhm,
it really plays into what Paige and I do in our healing world, which is it's just about you. It's not about what other people think. It's not about what other people expect you to do or to be. And so I've had to, through my own healing journey, is to relinquish this idea of control and expectation and say, wait a minute, because where I've come from in my wounded mindset says Jade needs to go to school. My kids need to follow this pathway because I know better. And the reality is, no, I don't, because I'm not them. And Jaden is his own sovereign individual person who needs to make the decisions to keep himself safe and purposeful and driven and all the things that he needs to work on. My only responsibility as a parent is to support him and to be present and to be here for when he does need me, if he does. And I think isn't this true? Every time we get off our FaceTime call, I say, "What do you need? Do you need
Yeah,
anything?" You know?
yeah,
And one of these days, hey, who knows? He may be showing up on my doorstep, or he's like, "Dad, I need to come to Nashville." I'm like, "Okay, here's a plane ticket."
yeah.
Or whatever. So, and that's really, really hard for a lot of parents to understand, is that yes, our job is to mentor and to guide and to lead, but not to control.
Mm.
And that's super, super hard. And it bleeds into other adult relationships. Oftentimes we get into partnerships and marriages where we think we need to control our partner in order for us to feel better about ourselves, which is it's a whole nother can of worms to
Oh
open.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, you've come a long way. How would
yeah.
you, whatever you're open to share, how would you say your emotional health, your mental health, how it's grown, how it's developed, how it's grounded, how it's healed, some of the, yeah, kind of take us through that.
So, when I did go to the hospital, the day I got out, I made a promise to myself that no one on this planet, in this world, can or I will allow to affect my mental health. I made a promise to myself that I am the only one that will control how I feel. And I think that really went into me being able to then grow with myself rather than needing someone else. Because that was a really big thing was um, I had this desire to be wanted by someone else, but I never wanted myself. And so when I got out, yeah, they gave me a lot of, um, advice on how to heal and how to help myself when I find myself in these states of mind again. But I think the biggest thing was really focusing on who I wanted myself to be and how I wanted myself to feel. And if I could look 2 years in the future at that moment, I think I'd be really, really proud of myself for who I've become. Um, and it was not easy. I mean, of course, no one's healing is easy. No one's life is easy. But I think staying grounded was really, really, really important, and staying with myself. And I have a few tattoos, and they all kind of resemble that. They all resemble staying true to myself and staying who I am. And yeah, just never giving up on yourself because you're your own MVP. You got to make sure you're healthy.
Say it again, bro. Say that last line again.
You're your own MVP, and you got to stay healthy.
So for those that may not be familiar with the sports world, what does MVP stand for?
Most valuable player,
Yeah.
most valuable player.
Yeah. In
And
your
so you're
game, in your
yep,
world. Yeah.
yep. So your
Yeah.
LeBron James is your your Barry Bonds is. So
Yeah.
it's just, because when it comes down to it, you can only really control one person.
Hmm.
That's you.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. That's for sure. Which is such a difficult place to get to because we're told that we have to make sure that our external environment fits us
Mhm.
rather than we fit where we matter and who we
Mhm.
are moving forward. So thanks for sharing all
Yeah.
that. Thanks for being
Yeah.
vulnerable to that. What's the anything else as far as lessons that you would share? Anything else that you continue to learn? Maybe through your work. Like you mentioned, you know what, this week has been hard.
Hmm.
So what are some of the lessons that you've learned through your own emotional and mental health has helped you because you said, oh, I have to be patient. Or I need to be patient. There's something really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, so, it's the most frustrating thing about it is when I feel like I can't get anything done. And, it even goes back to mental health. It's like if you can't, how, who's going to help you if not yourself? You know what I mean? And that's the first step you got to take. And so with work, it's just when I guess for me, it's like you kind of have to embrace that, people are gonna come into the store. People are gonna interrupt what you're doing, but you're not like that's not your job is to take care of them. There is plenty of hours in the day to get stuff done. And so I guess I have to be more conscious of that. More conscious of I'm not here to put stuff away. I'm here to help the customers.
Mm,
And I think that's the patient route that I need to take because it's
okay.
really easy to get frustrated when you hear that door open and you're like, dude, I just need to get like a couple more things done. I need you to get out. But it's like, hey man, take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breath. And what I'll do is I will take that breath. I'll take that breath and I'll realize how nice it is to have a pleasant face you see in the morning. And that really helps because I love to treat people at work the way that I would want to walk in and be treated by someone.
Hmm.
Because that's the golden rule. I've learned that since elementary school. But it's different when you're in the real world and people, man, some people come in there and they're just so frustrated. I'm like, hey man, I hear that and I'm gonna be here for you.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna make sure that you get what you need and that I can try to help brighten that a little bit.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because the human experience is what's most important, right? The
Hmm.
task, right? We think, oh, I have to get this done, which is get it done. But what's the point? If those people
Right.
aren't walking through the door, you don't have the task to do in the first place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so, and it also reminds me of the world in which Paige and I live, the world in which I live, is that wounded people wounded people.
Hmm.
Hurt people hurt people. And so when somebody comes into your store and they're dysregulated and they're angry and they're pissed and they're upset and because of what is going on in their life has nothing to do with Jadon, has nothing
Right.
to do with Quick Trip, has nothing to do with
Right.
anything going on in their life, but how we receive them, right? So, for me in the social media world where I'm out there and I am saying some pretty provocative things when it comes to the healing space, and when people come back and say some fairly cruel things, some personal attacks, some things of disagreement. I know inside of me that it's super important to remain grounded and know that it has nothing to do with me, that their
Yeah.
wounding has nothing to do with me, that I can simply receive them. And by the way, sometimes these folks have never been received. They've never been honored. They've never even allowed, they've not had their opinion, their perspective to be honored and received. And sometimes it just takes an open space to say, I'm here to hold space for you. And
Yeah.
that can be really challenging when they're in a wounded place because they're not able to maybe receive that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, really, really powerful lessons.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what else? What's did you watch any NBA games? NBA has started, which
Yes, I
for those of
have.
you that are watching, Jade and I are huge NBA fans, and I will
Yep.
I will concede that Jaden is probably a bigger fan than I am. He knows more about statistics. So, and you and I are constantly bantering back and forth
Hmm.
about that Michael Jordan is the best player on the planet.
Okay.
And
Um,
there's the first discussion right there. So
man. Oh my goodness.
go ahead, tell him what you
Oh,
think.
oh, oh. I think LeBron James is the greatest player to ever touch a basketball. But,
Mhm.
you know, there's of course, I mean, it's not just between you and I. It's hundreds of thousands of people on the internet yelling at each other about,
Right.
you know, calling LeBron, a fraud and only 4 rings and Jordan wins 6 for 6. It's like, okay, man. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Right, right. But it
Okay.
makes I think what's important about this conversation is that you and I have the conversation
Yeah.
as opposed to arguments
Yeah.
and it's witty banner and it's poking back and forth, which I think is really a powerful illustration of conversation,
Yeah.
which goes back to what I was saying earlier is what if the world in general, what if the world on social media was more curious than critical? what if, what if somebody said, "Oh no, LeBron is the best," and someone who thought differently would say, "Oh, tell me more, help me understand. Why do you think that? What LeBron did is why is that more important to you?" Imagine if we engage with other people that way, as opposed to pointing fingers, calling people an idiot, discarding them, tearing them down.
Yeah.
Imagine what the world would be. Are you going to say something?
Right. So the thing you said about being curious before you're critical, thanks to you, I've actually introduced that to 3 of my coworkers this week.
Wow.
So it was Liz, who is my store manager, like my direct boss, and then Chase, who is another coworker of mine. He's also in management, and then Josh, who is a clerk who I work with on my overnights. And what happened was on Tuesday morning, Chase came in and he was frustrated, and uh, unfortunately, trash was not looking great. Like trash didn't get done. Obviously, I was by myself. I can't leave the building. Whatever. It was mainly outside trash. Whatever. Um, the thing is, he came in really frustrated, and he directed that towards me. And I know he didn't mean to. Um, but he was like, just like kind of, I don't know, just I felt not disrespected. That's not the word, but like, hey man, don't, I'm not some kid. You know what I mean? Like you can talk to me like a man, like you can talk to me like how you want to talk to me. That's fine. Um, and so I got really frustrated about that. That was one of the things I got frustrated with. And so I was about to leave, and Liz could tell something was up, and she was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I was like, Chase, blah blah blah, blah whatever, whatever." And then I was like, "Yeah, he's never curious before he's critical, and he's always just in there and immediately critical, and it just like really sucks because I'm trying my best. I really am." And then I talked to Chase again, so me and him talked, and we reconciliated and um reconciled, whatever. It's all the same. Words are arbitrary. Uh,
People right now, there's people right now watching going, what? Wait a minute.
what did he
No, it has
just
to be
say?
right.
Yeah. Oh no,
Language
for
isn't
sure.
arbitrary. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Um,
love it.
but yeah, so me and Chase talked, and I told him, I was like, man, you're critical before you're curious. You got to be curious before you're critical. You got to be like, hey man, what happened? Not immediately like, hey, this looks bad, this looks bad, this looks bad. And he and I talked, and we got a great conversation about that. And then Josh, me and Josh, so I'm technically Josh's active manager, so I'm kind of like his boss, but like I don't really take a boss role. It's more like, hey, we both got stuff to do. Let's help each other out. Um, and we had a great conversation about like philosophy and psychiatry, and it was fantastic. And I even brought up the fact that, a lot of people, they need to be more curious before they're critical. And I always remember you coining that for me and like introducing me to that, even that idea. So
Yeah.
I just thought that would be like cool for you to know that like
Oh,
it's,
thanks, man. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's one of our 10 guidelines of engagement. So within our coaching practice, and that's one of them. And it's people often ask, so what do you believe in? Like what anchors you? What keeps you grounded? And it's those 10 guidelines of engagement, which by the way,
Hmm.
those of you that are interested in knowing what those are, send me an email or drop a comment and I'll send that over to you. But to be curious before critical is one of 10. And another one is lead with love. Another one is just because you can doesn't mean you should. Another one is be a learner, not a knower. Another one is seek
Mm,
wisdom, not advice. I could go on and on and on. Well, four more.
well, yeah.
But the point is, yeah, that's really cool how and that is done often with me because I hire mentors and coaches for myself to pour into me and to provide wisdom for me to navigate life. And so that's really cool. I appreciate you sharing that, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. Really. Hey, okay, so this just came across. Talk about if you're open to talk about the tattoo on your forearm.
Oh, yeah. So, oh geez, it was December of 2021. So right before 2022 happened. So I was at school, and it was after I got out of the hospital, and um for the longest time I wanted it tattooed on me, but it just says it's gonna be inverted, but it says don't give up, don't ever give up. Which is of
Wait a
course
minute.
a
Show
quote.
that again. Show it up. It's not inverted, by the way. It's not inverted. It may be on your screen, but it's not on mine.
Yeah, gotcha.
So leave it up there and then tell the story. What is this? And a lot
Yeah,
of people in the sports world, or not even in the sports world,
well,
may know what this is. But go ahead,
right.
kind of tell the story.
Um, so it's don't give up, don't ever give up. And so 94, I want to say the 94 ESPYs, right? I think
People will
Coach,
correct us on this, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, whatever. It's
Yeah,
um Coach V, who was the South Carolina Duke, one of them.
Jim Valvano, who was North Carolina State basketball
Yes,
coach.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Um,
Jimmy V.
he Jimmy V, yes,
Yeah,
he um was diagnosed with cancer. And so he, at the ESPYS, he won an award for, I think, Coach of the Year or some kind of high honoring award. and his speech will go down in history as like one of the greatest ever. And the biggest thing that is taken from that is don't give up, don't ever give up. And then, oh gosh, more time. So I think 2012 was when Gus did it again. So another, I think he was a sports analyst. Like he was an analyst. He was on ESPN. He wasn't a coach, but he was
Stuart
diagnosed
Scott?
with
Are you talking about
Stuart
Stuart
Scott.
Scott?
Yes,
Yeah.
duh, yeah,
Yeah.
duh.
No.
Um, he was diagnosed with I think stage 4 brain cancer. And again, he went to the ESPYS and he won an award, and he reiterated Jimmy V's "Don't give up, don't ever give up." And of course, being a huge sports fan, I've wanted it on me since I was like 12. And um, yeah, so I got it almost 2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, about 22 months ago. That's whatever. But yeah, so it's just one of the most important things for me,
Hmm.
to help keep myself grounded and help me really remember how to help myself.
Yeah.
You can't give up.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah.
So,
And that script is special too.
mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
talking about,
So,
yeah.
okay. So, funny story. Originally, it was supposed to be my grandmother's handwriting. Um, and we had to got this thing set up where she was going to manually write it on a piece of paper
Yeah.
and mail it to me at school. Um, however, it got lost somewhere. And so what happened was Paige, Paige Lee actually did a mock draft of it. And I liked it so much that I took it to the tattoo artist. I was like, here. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And so now it is on my body permanently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So cool.
yeah,
So cool. Yeah. And the tragic end and the hopeful end to both Jimmy V's and Stuart Scott's story is they passed away. Both of them
yeah,
passed away shortly thereafter, after those speeches. So they are forever memorialized. But really strong, powerful, grounded men who led spaces and places of influence in sports and even beyond the sports world. And it's so cool that is now permanently on the bod.
yeah.
All right, so I want you also, if you're open to it, to share the other one.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
so this
Pull that
was the
up.
second one I ever got, which is two of three. Um that is a matching tattoo that I have with my older sister Grayson and my younger sibling Skylar. So I'm the middle child, so am of course two of three. Grayson is one and Skylar's three. So in oh geez, January of this year, we Skylar had turned 18 in August, but we finally all decided, hey, let's do it. We're gonna go get matching tattoos. And so we did. And oh man, it hurt. Oh my gosh. It hurt so bad. It's like right on the bone. And
Yeah,
so Grayson's there kind of like squealing or like squirming, and I'm like, oh, this hurts more than the last one. But I'm not gonna say anything about it. And then Skylar gets in there like, man, that really hurt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, me too. Oh, that hurt. And then Grace
yeah.
was like, yeah, it was not fun. But I mean, it's something that I love and I cherish.
So
So,
tell us some more about the significance of that. Why, what
oh,
does it mean for you? What does it mean
yeah.
specifically for you? Not, if the other kids want to come on the on here to talk about, but talk about your significance of why you chose to be a part of that. What does two of three mean?
Um, well, I mean, the short answer is there's three of us and I'm the second
Sure.
one. Uh, but I think it's all the biggest thing for us is, and I tell this like everybody I know is how close we are and how, it's oh 01, oh 02, oh 04 done. And we've
Wait,
all
explain that.
oh
What that
oh
means.
oh Grayson was born in oh 01, I was born in oh 02, and Skylar was born in oh 04. And so we're all super close. We're all within like 48 months of one another. And so um it's just, we're all super close. And there's so much love between the three of us, and it's something that we've been talking about forever, but you know, it finally came to fruition. And it's just super, super, yeah, it's super important to me, and I love it. Especially like I'll forget about it sometimes that's there because it's not in my direct eyesight. Or like me and Grayson and mom will be out at dinner and I see Grayson with it. I'm like, oh hey, nice tattoo. And
Right.
it'll yeah, but it's just like how important family, but more specifically the two of them are to
Yeah.
me and vice versa.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as from a parent's perspective, when I heard this was going to happen, I was just full of pride, full of love and honor, and it's really, I think, a testament to how important, because there's going to be a time when your mom and we're gone, and you have your lives, and that's just kind of what life is. And to know that the three of you have each other, and that
Mhm.
the three of you have committed to one another, regardless of what may happen in the future, right? You have this bond that was, quite frankly, created over some tough times,
Oh yeah.
growing up in childhood, and as now you mature and grow into adulthood, I know from my parents' perspective how important and powerful it is, because those are the relationships that will, because you've chosen those relationships, because you trust one another, because they're true and they're real, and which, by the way, is very unusual. As you know, among siblings in
Yep.
general, it can be
Yeah.
really, really unusual as you move from childhood into adulthood to remain in that connection,
Hmm.
and to provide support for one another as you move into adulthood. So it's really powerful.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that that you have not only solidified that bond, but you've made it now permanently known,
Yeah.
right? To say, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm two of three.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it creates conversations with people. I'm
Oh,
sure
oh,
people have asked
absolutely.
you, like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It allows you
Um,
to tell your story.
yeah, and I mean, like you said, you being proud of us, I'm just so proud of the both of them, like all that they've gone through, and you know, it's just like it's kind of like this feeling of we made it,
Hmm.
we did it,
Hmm.
and we did it together,
Hmm.
and um, I think that's the most important thing is that togetherness that we all have,
Hmm.
enough to, and I mean, I know, when I was at school, I knew friends with infant siblings, and I'm like, how? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because Grayson turned 16 and then we all started kind of riding around together. Then I turned 16 and I would drive all of us around and then, so it was just like super super quick. Um and we were all super super young together and we all grew together and we all, you know, it's I think part of that um is why I genuinely feel like the three of us are so mature is because we surrounded ourselves with each other
Hmm.
and we've always kept it real. Like we've
Yeah.
always kept it 100. Like no, like I know. I mean, I've had again friends or friends of friends whose siblings are like sneaky or lie or they're not that close. I'm like, man, how?
Yeah.
Like how? Like the facilitation of that relationship is like my my favorite thing in the entire world.
Hmm.
It's how close the three of us are.
Yeah.
Um, and enough to where Grayson was the first person I called when I was in the hospital. She was the first person.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to say to her.
Yeah.
I felt like I was letting her down
Hmm.
because I thought I was doing better. And then I called her and she sent me the voicemail because it was a number from,
Right.
a weird it
Right.
wasn't my phone. And so then
Sure.
I left her a voicemail. I called her again. And I was like, "Hey, some happened."
Yeah.
And it's so important to me the bond that we have and
Yeah.
the same way that it gives you pride in us, it makes me very
Hmm.
proud of them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thank you, brother.
yeah,
Thank you, buddy, for sharing that. I think that's a fantastic place to pause our
okay,
conversation for now.
yeah,
Um, and as I like to say, great conversations never come to an end. You just put them on pause,
yeah,
right? I stole that line from George Lucas, who we both know very well.
Yeah,
as the
I went to high
creator of
school with
Star
him.
Wars. Well played. Well played. Yeah, well played. George Lucas, for those of you that aren't familiar, was the creator of Star Wars. And he once said at the completion or somewhere therein, the first Star Wars film in 1977, he said, great films are never complete. They're just abandoned. And so, you have to come to an understanding of like, okay, it's time to pause. And because we got to put it in the can, so to speak, we have to move on. And so,
Yeah.
thank you, those of you that obviously here are watching. And if you have questions for Jadon, if you have questions for me, if you're like, wow, yeah, anything. We welcome any and all feedback, and we have no idea where this is going, but I think this is a fantastic start, and I think it's a fantastic idea. Again, I give you credit, brother, and saying, hey, let's record these. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. So we'll end the conversation here for now, and I think our plan is to do these once a month, and we'll get them out
Once a
there
month. Yeah.
and if people say, hey, we want to hear from you more, okay, cool. So, but thank you for being a part of the conversation, and thank you, my son. Thank you, Jadon, for being here. Thanks for being vulnerable and open and receptive and sharing your story. And I know there are many, many stories to share still yet to come. So,
Yeah,
all right,
of course.
we will say au revoir for now. Bye-bye.